Where did you find this desk and bookcase, please?
Came down through the family line, my mother's side of the family. They lived in Hartford, Connecticut. Her grandfather probably was the man that had these. Very important guy in Connecticut history, governor of the state. His name was Richard D. Hubbard.
At first encounter, this desk and bookcase commands attention with quiet authority, a refined survival from the height of 18th century New York craftsmanship. Passed down through a prominent Connecticut family, it is now firmly attributed to Samuel Prince, a documented New York joiner active in the 1770s. The piece exemplifies Chippendale design at its finest. From the square claw and ball feet to the crisply carved gadroon edge, every element reflects the signature vocabulary of New York cabinet making. The drawers graduate elegantly upward, retaining their original brasses, while the interior reveals a classic arrangement with curved valances and a beautifully framed prospect door. What truly sets this example apart is the rare survival of its original label. Bearing the name Samuel Prince, along with his shop advertisement, it anchors the desk within a precise historical moment between 1772 and 1778. Such documentation is extraordinarily uncommon in furniture of this period. The upper bookcase aligns seamlessly with the base, featuring dramatic book-matched crotch mahogany panels that rise like flames, confirming the piece as an original unified construction. With its exceptional condition craftsmanship and provenance, it stands as a museum-level example of early American furniture.
Good day, okay? But we think because it has the original brasses, the condition's great, the cartouche, the proportions, that the estimate on this piece would be $150,000 to $200,000.
Okay, and I'd like to say also, in retail, for instance, in New York, I could easily put $250,000 on this piece, okay? And
Well, thank you very much.
Well,
That's
you're welcome.
Good. Welcome.
Thanks for sharing your Sunday with us.
Thank you. Refinished, I guess.
This desk belonged to Kenneth Roberts, and we've had it for 50 years or more.
Steeped in literary history and Southern craftsmanship, this desk carries both cultural and artistic significance. Once owned by Kenneth Roberts, the noted Maine author of historical novels, it represents not only a functional object, but a personal artifact tied to his life and work. The desk is attributed to the North Carolina school, dating to around 1790, and closely associated with the cabinet maker William Say. Known for producing furniture for the wealthy planter Whitmull Hill Say, developed a distinctive style, seen here in the elegant pediment refined cornice molding and the dramatic flame finial crowning the upper case. Constructed primarily from walnut with yellow pine secondary wood, the desk reflects regional building traditions of the American South. Its imposing scale and weight further reinforce its original status as a high-style piece intended for prominent interiors. Inside, an added layer of history emerges through Kenneth Roberts's own inscription documenting its provenance and journey, including its earlier presence in Petersburg, Virginia. While some restorations have occurred, including replaced glass and hardware, the overall integrity and character remain strong. Today, the desk stands as a compelling intersection of authorship, craftsmanship, and American heritage, where furniture and history converge in a single remarkable form.
A conservative estimate at auction would be $60,000 to $90,000.
Wow.
And for insurance value, I would say $125,000.
Wow.
This was passed down through my family for generations. It's just kind of an archaeological dig when you go through the desk, because there's things all the way from the 1800s all the way up to my grandparents in the 60s. There's a note that my grandmother wrote in there that she said that it was brought over with the Royals in 1621. And so they settled in Virginia, South Carolina area.
1621,
Yep.
Okay.
More than a piece of furniture, this desk is a time capsule, a living archive that has traveled with one family for generations. While family lore places its origins as early as 1621, the desk itself dates to around 1760 and was likely made in Massachusetts during the height of early American craftsmanship. Constructed from walnut with white pine secondary wood, it reflects the trade networks of the 18th century when raw materials moved between colonies before returning as finished furniture. Its untouched surface, known in the field as in the black, preserves the original finish hardware and wear, giving it a rare and authentic presence. Yet the true significance lies within. The desk houses an extraordinary accumulation of history, from 18th and 19th century documents to Civil War artifacts, Confederate currency early photographs, personal letters, and even objects tied to the War of 1812. Generations have added to it, transforming the desk into a layered narrative of American life. Individually, each item holds value, but together they form something far greater, a deeply personal and historically rich collection that elevates the desk into a remarkable cultural artifact.
I would say that as a historical archive, there's the potential here that this is a $100,000 collection. The desk alone would probably be $25,000 to $35,000 is what it would reach at auction. The Confederate bills may be at $50 a piece, some more and some less. It just adds and adds and adds to itself. So thank you so much for bringing it in.
Thank you.
My parents lived in Bucks County. That's where I was born and raised. And they were interested in George Nakashima's work. So they went and visited him at his workshop in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and talked about commissioning him to make a table. And they wanted a nice long table to fit a lot of people.
Right.
And so this is what George Nakashima...
More than a dining table, this piece embodies the philosophy of George Nakashima, where nature craftsmanship and daily life become inseparable. Commissioned around 1955 to 1956 at his workshop in New Hope, Pennsylvania, it reflects an early period when each work was shaped largely by hand. Formed from two book-matched wood slabs, the table celebrates the natural grain with the lighter sapwood intentionally placed along the outer edges, rather than the center, an uncommon and deliberate choice. The surface is reinforced by 6 rosewood butterfly joints, both functional and sculptural, adding rhythm to the composition. Unlike later production, this early example retains a direct, almost intimate connection between maker and material. Over decades of use, the surface has gathered marks, scratches, and wear not as damage, but as a living record of the family that gathered around it. Accompanied by an original sketch rarely given to clients, the table gains further significance. Today, it stands as both a masterwork of American studio furniture and a deeply personal object, where design and memory are permanently intertwined.
We would put an estimate today of about $25,000 to $30,000 at auction.
Okay.
Now, I could have said easily 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, $50,000 to $70,000, $50,000 to $60,000.
It's in the family for good.
He rarely gave the sketches away to the client.
Right?
That adds potentially a good $5,000, $6,000 at least to the table.
The first house that we owned was in Great Falls, Virginia, and it was owned by a couple that built the house around this furniture. And my husband and I loved it. And so we found out that the furniture was made by George Nagashima. We looked him up and set an appointment with him, which was extremely hard to do. Had a wonderful time with him. He took us to his storeroom of big black walnut pieces. We're very proud to own it.
Few encounters shape a collection quite like meeting the maker, and this piece carries that rare connection. Designed by George Nakashima, during the 1970s, it represents one of the most refined periods of his career, when his philosophy of blending nature with structure reached full maturity. Crafted from black walnut, his signature material, the table balances organic warmth with architectural precision. The top feels deliberate and sculptural, while the base anchors the form with quiet strength. During this decade, Mira Nakashima joined the studio, influencing a subtle evolution in his work, bringing a slightly more fluid and expressive quality. A defining feature is the presence of George Nakashima's signature, something he rarely added. This personal mark not only confirms its origin, but elevates its importance among collectors. True to Nakashima's philosophy, the piece was meant to be used, not preserved untouched. Gentle wear, light exposure, and time itself become part of its character. Today, it stands as more than furniture. It is a living expression of craftsmanship memory and the enduring dialogue between nature and design.
So you paid $200 for this. One sold in the last year for about $25,000. So I would estimate this piece at auction at $20,000 to $25,000.
Oh my goodness.
My grandmother bought it at an estate sale in 1955, and it's been sitting in the living room of her last house and this house, and that's all I know about it.
For years, this table quietly occupied a living room, its true character hidden behind familiarity. Yet beneath that everyday presence lies a remarkable example of Gothic revival design dating to the mid-19th century, approximately 1825 to 1865. Its octagonal form immediately sets it apart, echoing architectural influences rooted in medieval Europe. The Gothic revival style drew heavily from 12th century church architecture, emphasizing verticality symbolism and a sense of upward movement. This influence is clearly visible in the table's structure, from its solid base to the elegant rising lines of the support and apron. Crafted with rosewood as the primary material alongside white pine and oak secondary woods, the table demonstrates both quality and craftsmanship. The surface is adorned with intricate marquetry, where pieces of wood are carefully cut, dyed, and assembled into a unified design. What appears complex is in fact masterfully executed from larger sections of wood enhanced through subtle coloration. At the center, the striking thistle motif provides a key clue to its origin. As a national symbol of Scotland, it strongly suggests the table was either made there or produced in England for the Scottish market. Elegant, rare, and deeply symbolic, the piece stands as a refined reflection of 19th century taste, where history, craftsmanship, and identity converge.
If we were going to put it in auction, we'd estimate it at $15,000 to $25,000.
Oh, you're kidding. My mother's going to die. Okay.
I'm not kidding.
Wow, that's wonderful.
My husband was at a sale. A lady was downsizing, and he bought a bunch of things. And then he went back and purchased this. He loved it, me not so much.
Okay.
So,
when was that?
A few months back.
Were you with him?
No.
Okay.
But I did go back and look at it, and I went, We have French country, and
Right.
this is definitely not French country.
And what was the price?
He's got about 600 into it now.
$600.
Sometimes the most unexpected pieces carry the greatest impact, and this table is a perfect example. Created by Philip and Kelvin Laverne, a renowned father and son design team, it belongs to a category they described not simply as furniture, but as functional art. Produced in the late 1960s to around 1970, this work comes from their Chand series, specifically known as the Festival Console. Crafted from bronze and pewter, the surface is richly decorated using an acid etching process, then enhanced with layers of patinated enamel. In a remarkable finishing technique, the piece was even buried to achieve its aged surface, allowing natural elements to interact with the metal and create its distinctive character. The design is both sculptural and refined, with decoration flowing seamlessly over the edges and into the open fretwork ends, giving it a sense of depth and movement. Its proportions are especially successful, making it as practical as it is visually striking. Adding to its rarity, the original label remains intact, a detail seldom preserved. Today, the table stands as a masterful example of mid-century design where craftsmanship, innovation, and artistic vision converge into a single remarkable object.
This table, we place an estimate at auction of $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh, no.
Yes, $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, no. Oh, this is looking better every minute.
It's getting better every minute.
Looking really good. Oh, my goodness.
My mom owned it most recently, and I inherited it from her when she died in 2019. It belonged, and I don't know if she's the original owner, but it belonged to my great-great-aunt who lived in Sugar Notch, Pennsylvania.
What begins as a simple family curiosity quickly unfolds into a piece filled with ingenuity, storytelling, and regional character. Long passed down through generations, this table is remembered not just for its form, but for the delight of its hidden compartments, secret drawers revealed by a cleverly concealed mechanism. Likely made around 1900 in Pennsylvania near Sugar Notch, the table reflects a distinctly homespun construction far removed from formal factory production. Its design draws from Pennsylvania German traditions, with hints of Black Forest influence blending folk creativity with practical function. The top showcases intricate parquetry, combining walnut, ash, oak, and maple, while the structure incorporates twig or root elements, giving it a sculptural organic presence. Inside a traditional till compartment and multiple concealed spaces demonstrate both craftsmanship and playfulness enhanced by repurposed spring mechanisms. Carved imagery brings the piece to life with animals and birds adorning its sides, most notably a seated bear with brass tack eyes, adding a whimsical narrative dimension. Despite its informal origins, the table is remarkably well balanced in proportion and design. It stands today as more than furniture, a vivid expression of folk artistry where imagination, utility, and personal history come together in one unforgettable object.
I would say, without hesitation, if this was going to go to auction, I would put $10,000 to $20,000 on it.
Oh my God. Wow, I did not expect that at all. Wow.
It's been passed down through the family for over 200 years.
Okay.
And it was my great-great-great-grandfather who made this for his youngest daughter in between 1810 and 1812.
And her name was?
Frances.
Okay.
Frances Vanderburg. I was the oldest son, so I received the Vanderburg table. It's always been known as the Vanderburg table.
Rich with history and craftsmanship, this table stands as a remarkable survivor of early American life. Though long believed to have been made between 1810 and 1812, its true origin dates closer to 1790, and not in Indiana as once thought, but in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a center of refined cabinet making in the late 18th century. Constructed from striking tiger stripe cherry wood and accented with walnut and tiger maple, the table showcases a sophisticated use of contrasting materials. Its elegant proportions, distinctive leg profile, and finely molded edges are all characteristic of Philadelphia workmanship, while the original brass hardware and untouched surface further enhance its authenticity. Designed as a card table, it reflects the social rituals of its time when games like whist were a central part of domestic life. The fold-over top and concealed drawer add both function and refinement. Beyond its form, the table carries a deeper narrative tied to an early American family and the expansion into the Northwest Territory. Today, it remains not just a piece of furniture, but a lasting intersection of history, artistry, and personal legacy.
I would put an auction estimate range on this table of $10,000 to $20,000.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. That sounds great.
It should be insured for about $20,000. It's a great table.
I just walked into an antique gallery this past March, and it was sitting there with this photograph, and there's some writing under here, and in one of the drawers it shows that it belonged to 20th Century Fox. And I had to go home and talk to my wife about spending, for me, a great deal of money to buy this, but I was just so blown away by it that I just had to, had to have it.
A remarkable fusion of cinema history and decorative art, this desk stands out as far more than a functional object. It is a French cartonnier bureau plate, featuring an upper section designed to hold documents with its front covered in finely tooled leather. Crafted from mahogany and richly adorned with ormolu, meaning gilded bronze mounts, the piece reflects the grandeur of the Empire style. Although inspired by early 19th century design, it was likely produced around 1920, capturing classical elements, such as sculptural caryatid figures and dramatic griffin supports. Its true distinction lies in its provenance. Markings confirm it once belonged to 20th Century Fox, and it appeared on screen in the 1954 film Desiree, starring Marlon Brando, as well as the 1964 film What a Way to Go with Shirley MacLaine. This connection to Hollywood adds a unique narrative dimension. Elegant and visually striking, the desk exists at the intersection of fine furniture and film history, where craftsmanship and storytelling come together in one exceptional piece.
I think you probably at this stage would be looking at an estimate, say, of $8,000 to $12,000 on the piece. But because Brando stood next to this, I think that we could probably bump a premium up of about $20,000.
Okay.
We've got my great-great-grandfather's slant-top desk. I have no idea where it was made. I bought it out of my great-aunt's estate about 15, 16 years ago. The owner of the desk originally was from Massachusetts.
Behind its worn exterior lies a remarkable example of early American craftsmanship. A Chippendale-figured walnut slant front desk dating to 1760 to 1780. Though long associated with Massachusetts through family history, the materials and construction firmly place its origin in Pennsylvania, a region known for richly detailed furniture of this period. The exterior tells a story of time and alteration, but the true brilliance is revealed within. The interior is exceptionally elaborate, featuring balanced pigeonholes, sinuous drawer fronts, and a striking prospect door adorned with a stylized shell and intricate vine carving. This shell motif, combined with punch decoration, is strongly associated with Pennsylvania craftsmanship, though its slightly unconventional execution suggests it was made outside major urban centers like Philadelphia. Constructed from figured walnut with secondary woods such as poplar and cedar, the desk reflects both regional materials and high-level cabinet-making skill. While elements like the base hardware and fall lid have been replaced, the interior remains largely intact, preserving its artistic integrity. Today, the desk stands as a compelling blend of survival and transformation, where restoration meets originality, and where the hidden interior continues to define its true significance.
I would say a conservative auction estimate for this piece would be $8,000 to $12,000.
What should I insure it for?
I'd probably insure it for about $15,000 to $20,000. When I opened this up and saw this, my knees started to tremble. I mean, it really is the most elaborate desk.
Oh.
If it was all original, I think you could easily say $25,000 to $35,000.
You've brought this magnificent Hispano-Moresque Vargueña Tequillon. Where did you get this?
Actually, I got it at an auction here in Norfolk, Virginia, and it actually originally came 2 owners ago from an estate in England. It was a vice president for Liberties of London, the fabric design house. It passed to his daughter, who brought it to the United States. Then when her stuff was auctioned, I picked it up at the auction.
Rich in presence and layered history, this cabinet represents a classic example of a Hispano-Moresque Vargueño on taquillon, a traditional portable writing desk on stand rooted in Spanish craftsmanship. Originating in Spain, this type of furniture was produced for centuries, and this example is best dated to the 18th century based on its construction and materials. The upper section, the Vargueño, opens to reveal a fall-front writing surface lined with tooled leather, along with an intricate arrangement of drawers and compartments designed for documents, valuables, and personal items. The lower base, known as the taquillon, supports the cabinet and provides additional storage, completing the form. Its decoration reflects strong Moresque influence, seen in the bold painted decoration and stylized motifs inspired by Islamic design traditions in Spain. Unlike earlier Renaissance examples, which often featured inlay, this piece relies more on painted and gilded surfaces characteristic of later production. Though the piece shows signs of restoration, including refreshed gilding and later added feet, it retains strong visual impact. Combining function portability and cultural fusion, it stands as a distinctive example of Spanish decorative arts.
It's hard to pinpoint it as a sales price, but I would say for insurance, I would probably insure this in the $10,000 to $15,000 range.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wow.
I inherited it from an aunt whose father-in-law was an estate dealer in Rochester, New York. I was the only one in my generation, so I inherited everything that my aunt owned. I have it sitting in my home, and the grandchildren put their drinks on it, and I know all that stuff you see.
Great. The grandkids put their drinks on it. Well, tell me, what do you think the top is?
My husband says it's slate. I would have thought it was some kind of marble or something on top of it.
What appears to be a decorative accent table reveals a far more cosmopolitan story, one shaped by travel craftsmanship and cultural exchange. This piece is a classic example of a grand tour table combining European artistry with American cabinet making. The tabletop is crafted using pietra dura, the Italian technique of inlaying colored stones to form intricate images. At its center is a detailed depiction of St. Peter's Square in the Vatican, surrounded by elaborate decoration. The surface also incorporates micromosaic made from thousands of tiny glass tesserae alongside areas of scagliola, a painted imitation of marble using powdered stone. Such tabletops were often brought back from Italy by travelers in the 19th century as symbols of refinement. The base made from rosewood was likely produced in Boston around the 1850s to 1860s, specifically designed to support and display the imported top. Blending Italian decorative arts with American craftsmanship, the table stands as a vivid reminder of a time when global travel influenced taste identity and the objects people chose to live with.
I would say a table like this at auction would probably have an estimate of $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
So if your grandkids are putting their drinks on it, it is marble, so I don't think they'll hurt it too much, but don't let them knock it over. It really is a beautiful example of a grand tour survival here in America.
Oh, well, thank you.
This is a tavern table. It was made in about 1750. It was my mother's, and prior to my mother, it was my Aunt Lucy's, and she lived in a little town on the eastern shore of Virginia called Accomack, Virginia.
Okay.
My mother and father had it appraised in 1978.
78.
And it appraised for $2,800. Prior to my Aunt Lucy, I don't know where it came from.
At first glance, this humble tavern table carries the quiet presence of everyday use, yet it reveals a far rarer story beneath its worn surface. Crafted around 1740 to 1760, it is a Queen Anne figured walnut, one-drawer tavern table, a form both functional and deeply rooted in early American life. What elevates this piece is its origin. Through its yellow pine secondary wood and walnut primary structure, it can be firmly placed in Virginia, a region where surviving furniture from this period is exceptionally scarce. Southern pieces were often lost to climate and conflict, making examples like this increasingly rare. The design reflects the Southern neat and plain aesthetic, with subtle elegance in its double baluster turnings and carefully molded details. The surface tells its own story, marked by burn rings, stains, and natural wear untouched and authentic, a true time capsule of 18th century use. While similar tavern tables may appear on the market, few carry this level of regional significance. Today, it stands not just as furniture, but as a rare survivor of early American craftsmanship, where simplicity, history, and place converge.
If this were to come to auction, I would estimate it, and I think it's conservatively, at $10,000 to $15,000.
You were my best friend.
Well, I'm glad I could be.
It principally has been used as a decorative piece in my living room, and it sits under a large federal mirror. It was more or less a gift.
Refined and quietly imposing, this table belongs to a rare class of early Georgian furniture designed as much for display as for use. Known as an architect's table, it dates to around 1725 to 1730, a period when such pieces symbolized intellect status and cultivated leisure among the landed gentry. Its purpose extended beyond practicality. While it could be used for writing or drawing, it also projected the image of a gentleman engaged in thoughtful work. The design reflects this dual role, with a top that extends and adjusts into a lectern, supported by an ingenious system of compartments, drawers, and hidden storage beneath. The craftsmanship is exceptional. Across the front, Corinthian columns support elegantly arched panels, all enhanced with fine inlay. The tapered reeded supports lend a sense of lightness, while the use of richly figured burl veneers demonstrates a commitment to the finest materials available. Inside layers of use and later additions hint at the lives it has passed through, adding a subtle narrative to its formal design. Though the market for such brown furniture has softened, the table remains a distinguished example of early 18th century craftsmanship, where elegance, function, and social identity are seamlessly intertwined.
If this were to come to auction, we'd put a conservative estimate of $4,000 to $6,000. If you're insuring it, I would say $12,000, $15,000 for a piece like this.
Thank you so much for everything you've taught me about it.
I bought this table in the early 1990s in a shop in downtown Toledo. Looked at it after work. I said, that's a really unusual table. I asked the guy how much he was asking for it. The guy was asking $800. He wouldn't come down. That's what I paid.
An unusual find at first glance, this table reveals itself as a genuine piece of Baltimore inlaid furniture from the late 18th century, dating around 1785 to 1800. Its elegant oval form reflects the refined neoclassical taste of early American design. The surface is richly decorated with delicate string inlay, extending from the top edge down into the skirt, forming precise geometric panels. Crafted in fine mahogany veneer, the table shows the quality expected of high-style furniture. The legs feature graduated bellflower inlays, enhanced by sand shading to create depth, while the cuffed feet remain largely intact, a rare survival. The strongest evidence of its age lies underneath, where visible hand-planed tool marks confirm its 18th century origin, clearly separating it from later reproductions. Elegant and authentic, the table stands as a refined example of early American craftsmanship.
I am thrilled to tell you that a pre-sale auction estimate on this table would be $8,000 to $12,000. Not bad.
That's good.
$8,000 to $12,000 when you paid $800.
That's right. That's great.
That's a 10 times,
Thank
at
you.
least 10 times an increase.
I bought it from a gentleman on the internet in 2002, and he said that this was made by Vladimir Kagan and that it was Vladimir Kagan's personal partner's desk with his partner Dreyfus.
And how much did you pay for it?
I paid a little over $2,000.
At first, it seemed like a striking but uncertain modern desk purchased online, yet it turns out to be a rare and personal creation by Vladimir Kagan, one of the defining figures of mid-century modern design. Acquired in 2002, its true identity was later confirmed by the designer himself. Made in 1950. When Kagan was only 23 years old, this desk was originally created for his own office on 57th Street in New York. Rather than following the traditional partner's desk form, he completely reimagined it, shifting the functional mass to one side and extending the surface into a graceful double boomerang cantilever. The result is both dynamic and sculptural, and beneath its elegant form lies a hidden aluminum structure engineered to support the extended top and maintain its precision over decades. This blend of artistry and engineering is a hallmark of Kagan's work. Crafted in walnut with book-matched veneer, the surface shimmers with natural depth and movement. Today, the desk stands not only as a functional object, but as an early, highly innovative work by a designer who would go on to shape modern American interiors.
I think that at a well-publicized auction that specializes in this type of thing, this desk would probably bring between $8,000 and $12,000 in the condition that it's in right now.
Oh, man.
If it was restored, I think it could probably bring $20,000 to $30,000.
What?
It could take about $6,000 to have it restored, and if it's done properly, it'll be worth a lot more.
Well, thank you very much.
This is a desk. It came to me from my third great-grandparents who lived in Arlington, Massachusetts.
Passed down through generations, this desk reflects the elegance of early American design and the refinement of Massachusetts federal furniture. Dating from about 1790 to 1810, it is a classic figured mahogany ladies' writing desk, a form known for both beauty and function. The exterior showcases exceptional craftsmanship. The book-matched mahogany veneer creates a flowing, symmetrical grain enhanced by delicate line inlay and bellflower motifs. A finely executed sand-shaded border adds depth, while contrasting woods, such as figured maple, in the escutcheon, introduce vibrant detail. The natural tiger stripe figure draws the eye upward, giving the piece a sense of movement and harmony. Inside the desk reveals a well-organized interior with short drawers and pigeonholes designed for practical daily use. The layout even suggests a right-handed user, a subtle but personal detail. The writing surface folds down smoothly, completing its functional design. Though lightly refinished and fitted with later brasses, the desk retains strong color figure and integrity. Elegant and expressive, it stands as a fine example of federal period craftsmanship in America.
If I had to put an insurance value on it today, I'd safely say insure it for about $10,000 in today's market.
Great.
It's a fantastic piece.
You've brought today a 300-year-old table. How long have you had this?
I'm shocked. It's been a family piece, passed from my grandmother to my mother to me, but we always just knew it as Nana's gate leg table.
What seemed for generations like a simple family table reveals itself as something far older and far more significant. Passed down from grandmother to daughter, this piece is, in fact, a rare William and Mary period gate leg table, dating to the late 1600s to early 1700s, placing it at over 300 years old. Made in Massachusetts during the colonial era, it reflects early American furniture traditions rooted in English design. Constructed from maple rather than the mahogany typical of Boston workshops, it likely originated from a more regional or inland maker. Its gate leg construction allows the table to expand a practical innovation that still feels remarkably modern. The defining feature lies in its turned legs crafted on a lathe, showcasing the skill of early joiners and turners. Over centuries of use, the table has developed authentic wear, including softened edges and a naturally worn stretcher from generations of feet resting upon it. These marks are not damage, but history made visible. Remarkably, the original drawer survives a detail often lost over time, adding greatly to its rarity. Today, the table stands as a quiet but powerful artifact of early American life, where craftsmanship and family legacy meet across centuries.
I would say that if we saw this in a shop, it would probably be selling at around $10,000.
Wow. Wow.
Because of my job, I was transferred around, and I wound up going from Western New York to San Francisco, back to Cleveland, and then to Denver.
And this came all the way through all those different legs of the journey.
Yes, it did.
It started originally in East Aurora, New York, and you have a family associated with East Aurora, New York.
Yes, when I was younger, before I was a teenager, we lived about 2 blocks away from the Roycroft Inn in East Aurora, New York. My father knew the owner of the Roycroft Inn during the 50s, a gentleman by the name of Louis Fuchs, and he gave this to my father.
Carrying the marks of both travel and history, this desk is more than a companion through years of relocation. It is a direct link to the Roycroft community, one of the most important centers of the American arts and crafts movement. Originating from East Aurora, New York, and dating to around 1905 to 1910, it reflects the early years of Roycroft furniture production. Founded by Elbert Hubbard, the Roycroft movement began as a printing press before expanding into a broader artistic enterprise. Furniture like this was initially created for use within the Roycroft Inn, making surviving examples with identifiable origins especially significant. The impressed R mark confirms its association with Roycroft and suggests it may have come from a specific room within the inn. Crafted from quarter-sawn oak with copper hardware, the desk embodies the key materials and philosophy of the movement. Its somewhat boxy, even awkward form is characteristic of early Roycroft design, where function and handcraft took precedence over refinement. Details such as hand-cut dovetail joints and doweled construction highlight its quality. Though later coated with a heavy finish, traces of the original surface remain. Even so, the piece stands as an authentic and early example of Roycroft furniture, where design craftsmanship and a uniquely American artistic vision converge.
So if this were to appear at auction today, I would guess somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000 from the Roycroft Inn. Okay, with the original finish, without that overcoat, probably be more like 6 to 9 or 7 to 10,000. Not a huge difference because it's an important piece in and of itself. Very good.
It's been in my family for generations, and I know it goes back to at least my great-grandparents on my father's side.
Okay, and where were they from?
They were from Stoneham, Massachusetts. My family goes way back to Massachusetts. Some of them came over in the Mayflower.
Rooted in generations of family history, this table reflects the craftsmanship of early 19th century New England. Originating from southeastern Massachusetts, and dating to around 1810, it is a federal period card table in the Hepplewhite style, a form both elegant and practical. Constructed primarily of mahogany, the table features distinctive tapered legs with cuff inlay, along with delicate stringing and floral motifs. Particularly notable is the inlay work, which, while somewhat naive in execution, gives the piece a unique charm. Unlike finer Boston-made examples, this table reflects a regional cabinet maker's interpretation capturing both ambition and individuality. One of its most unusual features lies within. The interior surface is also inlaid, a rare detail, as most tables of this type reserve decoration for the exterior only. Additional elements, such as the barber pole inlay on the legs, and the use of oak as secondary wood further tie it to southeastern Massachusetts traditions. Though slightly unconventional in execution, the table stands as a compelling example of federal furniture. It balances refinement with regional character, transforming a functional object into a distinctive piece of American decorative art.
This is something that in a retail market, I would easily see a $6,000 to $9,000 price on this. It's really a nice example of federal furniture with a lot more inlay than what you usually get.
Ah, wonderful.
So.
That's great. Thank you very much.
We inherited this table from my husband's grandparents. They purchased it in the early 1960s in New York. We think it's a Paul Evans cityscape line table, but we're not sure.
At once sculptural and architectural, this table captures the bold design language of Paul Evans, a leading figure in American studio furniture. Created as part of his Cityscape series in the mid-1970s, It reflects a period when furniture blurred the line between utility and modern art. Evans, who began his career in New Hope, Pennsylvania, brought a jeweler's precision to his work. That influence is evident here in the tightly arranged geometric chrome panels, forming a composition reminiscent of a miniature skyline. The cantilevered form enhances this effect, giving the piece a sense of balance and structural tension. Constructed from chrome over a wooden core, the table embodies both industrial material and handcrafted design. Like many cityscape pieces, it shows minor surface dents, a common trait due to its construction and decades of use. These marks are often accepted as part of its history rather than flaws. Originally a high-end design, Paul Evans furniture remains highly collectible. This table stands as a striking example of 20th century modernism, where craftsmanship, geometry, and urban inspiration converge into a single commanding form.
At auction today, this table's probably worth $6,000 to $9,000.
Get out, really?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
It's one of my very favorite designers of all times.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
I got it out of a storage building where I worked. Bought this in a lawnmower. I think it comes from Bordentown area, New Jersey. Thought it was the really neat table. I brought it here to see what it's worth.
What started as a casual find alongside a lawnmower turns out to be an extraordinary piece of American folk art, rich in detail and personal expression. At first glance, the table captivates with its intricate mother-of-pearl inlay, forming delicate scenes of butterflies, birds, fish, and flowers reminiscent of the decorative spirit of the late 19th century aesthetic movement. But the real surprise appears when the table is opened. As a tilt-top design, it reveals a highly elaborate interior centered around an inlaid 1911 nickel, likely marking the year it was made. Nearby is a portrait possibly of the craftsman himself, giving the piece a deeply personal identity. Additional elements such as stone inlay, geometric borders, and the use of rosewood highlight an exceptional level of skill and care. This is not factory-made furniture, but the work of a dedicated artisan, possibly of German origin, combining traditional techniques with individual creativity. The table was clearly intended to be displayed open, showcasing its full artistic impact. Today it stands as more than a functional object. It is a unique creation where craftsmanship, time, and personality are permanently woven into its form.
Okay.
And what did you pay for the lawnmower and for the table together?
$500.
$500. It's probably worth, at auction, $5,000 to $8,000 today as a piece of folk art.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Well, this is a miniature desk. This was my mother's, and my mother was an avid antique collector, and I don't really know much about it. It was just a piece. My father asked me what I wanted for Christmas this year, and this was one of her miniatures that she had, and this is the piece that I selected.
And do you know how much she might have paid for it?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Small in scale, yet rich in history, this miniature desk offers a rare glimpse into early American craftsmanship. Passed down from a devoted collector, it reflects not just personal memory, but a tradition of finely made objects dating back centuries. Careful examination reveals its true age. Details such as hand-chased brass hardware, secured with cotter pins, square nails, and hand-planed surfaces all point to an 18th century origin. Even the interior construction with its early rose-head nails and handmade lock confirms that this is not a later reproduction, but an authentic period piece. Likely made in Boston around the 1750s, The desk is crafted from walnut with white pine secondary wood materials typical of New England furniture of the time. Unlike salesman samples which replicate full-size forms, exactly this example, with its simplified 3-drawer configuration, was most likely made as a child's piece, combining function with early notions of refinement. Despite its modest size, the desk carries the same attention to detail found in larger works. Today, it stands as a charming and highly collectible artifact, where scale craftsmanship and history come together in a single elegant form.
I think in a retail store, a dealer that specializes in early American furniture could easily ask $5,000 to $7,000 for this piece.
That's terrific. Yeah, that's a beautiful piece.
This desk belonged to my grandparents, who lived in Queens, New York, their entire lives. I now own the desk. All I know about the desk is that it is referred to as the Herman Miller desk.
Effortlessly modern, this desk embodies the forward-thinking vision of George Nelson, one of the most influential figures in 20th century design. Produced by Herman Miller and designed in 1945, with production beginning in 1946, it represents a pivotal moment when American homes embraced modern living. Nelson, who became design director at Herman Miller after World War II, helped redefine furniture as a balance of form and function. This desk captures that philosophy perfectly. Its clean lines, compact structure, and innovative features make it feel as relevant today as it did nearly 80 years ago. The design is highly functional. It includes specialized compartments, such as a file drawer and a pull-out section for a typewriter, reflecting the evolving needs of the mid-century home office. The leather writing surface adds both practicality and refinement, while the varied wood construction highlights its thoughtful engineering. Even with minor alterations, such as a possible replacement drawer, the piece retains its strong appeal. Herman Miller remains a cornerstone of modern design, and desks like this stand as enduring examples of a time when innovation reshaped everyday living.
At auction, this piece would probably bring between $5,000 and $7,000.
Okay, wow.
And it's also in very good condition. Your grandparents took very good care of it.
We moved next door to an elderly lady who became a very dear friend of ours. And when she passed away, we purchased the table from her estate in 2004. We believe this is Art Nouveau. I'm not sure if it is or not. We do know that it was made by the Toby Furniture Company, and they went out of business in 1950.
54.
And that's about as much as I know about the table.
Sculptural in form and rich in movement. This table reflects a moment when furniture crossed into the realm of artistic expression. Crafted by the Toby Furniture Company of Chicago, active from the 1850s to the early 1950s, it represents their early 20th century work at a time when American makers were absorbing and reinterpreting European design. Dating to the early 1900s, the piece draws strong influence from Art Nouveau with its flowing curves and organic lines, though its bold, almost muscular execution gives it a distinctly American character. Rather than fitting neatly into one style, it blends elements of multiple traditions into a unified and expressive form. Made from beautifully figured mahogany, the table features refined details from the stepped molding to the carved base, all anchored by a small brass medallion bearing the maker's name. Toby, known for producing arts and crafts furniture, and even retailing pieces by Stickley, demonstrates here a broader design vocabulary shaped by French and Belgian inspiration. Rare and preserved in excellent condition, the table stands as more than a functional object. It is a compelling example of craftsmanship meeting artistic ambition, where form, material, and influence come together in a singular design.
As an auction estimate, I would put $4,000 to $6,000 on it. But I would qualify that. This is the kind of piece of furniture that I could see two people going bananas over, more than two. So $4,000 to $6,000 as a pre-sale estimate at auction, and Katie, bar the door from there.
Okay, thank you.
We bought it at an auction down in the Cape. We bought it for function to use, and we thought it might be old, but we don't know.
And how old do you think it is?
If I were to guess, I'd say the late 1800s.
Bought simply for everyday use, this piece turns out to be a genuine example of 18th century Newport, Rhode Island furniture, dating to about 1770 during the Queen Anne period. Newport was one of the most important centers of cabinet making in colonial America, and this piece reflects that legacy. Its most distinctive feature is the carved scallop shell, a hallmark found almost exclusively in Newport work. The bold cabriole legs and the characteristic shaped apron further confirm its origin. Another key detail is the construction the detachable legs, a unique Rhode Island method that allowed furniture to be shipped more easily. Originally, this was not a table, but the base of a high chest of drawers, also known as a high boy. The upper section has been lost over time, and the base was later adapted into a standalone piece, a common occurrence with furniture of this type. Made from fine mahogany, the piece is attributed to the Goddard-Townsend school, referring to the renowned Newport cabinet-making families, the Goddards and the Townsends. Today, even as a base, it remains a desirable example of early American furniture and a strong representation of Newport craftsmanship.
This is a piece that I would expect at auction would sell today for $3,500 to $5,000 to a collector of
Wonderful.
Rhode Island furniture.
Great, it's good to know.
It's interesting to note that in January of 2012, a wonderful original Goddard-Townsend school high boy, the finest example, sold for $3.5 million.
Wow, I wish we had the top.
I wish you did as well.
It's a table that was in our home when we bought it in about 1974. The table had been in the home at least, I would say, since 1910. The people we bought it from told us that they'd bought it from the Ham's beer family and said that it had been there when they bought the place. It's believed to be from the Hill family.
Few objects command attention quite like a table built for an entire room to gather around. And this example speaks to a time when scale and craftsmanship defined status. With a diameter of 73 inches and the ability to extend to nearly 18 to 19 feet, it was clearly intended for grand dining, likely in a large custom-built home of the late 19th century. Created in the American aesthetic movement style, the table reflects a philosophy where furniture was designed as both function and art. Made of oak, it features elaborate carved details on both the front and reverse, indicating it was meant to be seen from all angles. The sculptural base, with its symmetrical motifs, further reinforces its decorative ambition. Dating to approximately 1875 to 1885, the table predates many of the grand estates it has been associated with. While its scale and quality suggest a wealthy origin, differences in material and interior style make it unlikely to have been made for the well-known Hill House. Even without that provenance, it remains a rare custom-made piece, not a production item, and would have represented a significant investment in its time. Today, it stands as a powerful reminder of an era when furniture was built not just to serve, but to impress.
I think the current value at auction would be $3,000 to $5,000.
You said $3,000 to $5,000?
Correct.
Okay.
I think if we had the original leaves, you could add another 1,000, maybe 1,500 for them.
Wow. Well, my children will be excited. They'll know they have a value on their heirloom.
Yeah.
Now one of them has to get a big enough house so it can fit in it.
I don't know a whole lot about it. It was given to my grandmother from a friend of my grandmother's, and then from my grandmother to my dad, and from my dad to me. I've had it probably 25 years.
Do you know what country it's from, what period it might be? Have you ever had it appraised?
No, nothing.
Nothing?
I don't know anything about it, I'm ashamed to say.
Okay.
Carried through generations more for love than knowledge, this piece reveals itself as a classic example of English George III furniture dating to around 1775 to 1780. Though long appreciated for its charm, its true identity lies in its craftsmanship and subtle details. Constructed from rich mahogany, the exterior immediately suggests quality, while the interior confirms its age. The drawers feature dovetail construction, along with visible tooling marks and natural wood shrinkage, all consistent with 18th century workmanship. The use of oak as secondary wood is a strong indicator of English origin. One particularly human detail appears inside where the cabinet maker marked a drawer with the word "left a practical guide from the time of construction." The hardware, including the original brass pulls and butterfly hinges, remains intact, adding to the piece's authenticity. A distinctive feature is the tombstone-shaped door, with its arched top, offering a more decorative alternative to typical rectangular forms. While the piece shows signs of wear and would benefit from light restoration, it retains its character and historical integrity. Today, it stands as a genuine survivor of the 18th century, valued not only for its age, but for the craftsmanship and quiet personality it carries.
The value of this piece at auction would be $1,000 to $1,500.
Good, okay.
So, and that's a gift,
Okay.
that's a great gift.
It is,
So
it is. Should I choose to insure it? Is there another price for that?
you would probably insure it for $2,500.